This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidoi-Yuat. It's Tuesday, May 21st. This is Africa 54. It's election day in Malawi, and voters are casting their ballots in a tight race for the presidency. Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi names a new prime minister. And addressing menstrual hygiene among girls on the continent. Polling stations are open in Malawi, where nearly 7 million people are voting in presidential and legislative elections. Serena Chondre reports.
Lining up to make their mark. Across Malawi, voters are gathering at polling stations to cast their ballot in presidential and legislative elections. At this station in Lilongwe, officials made a point of showing empty ballot boxes before sealing them and allowing voting to begin. President Peter Mutharika, who's won praise for his infrastructure improvements, is seeking a second term. But his critics accuse him of corruption and cronyism, charges he denies. He's facing challenges from the Deputy President Saulos Chilima and opposition leader Lazarus Chakwera. Both have promised to crack down on corruption. Malawi is heavily dependent on foreign aid and frequently battles droughts which threaten the lives of thousands. Analysts say they expect a tight presidential race between the three candidates. Some 6.8 million people are registered to vote.
That was Serena Chondre of Reuters reporting. Demonstrators remain defiant as a sit-in protest in Khartoum continues on Tuesday. Ruling generals and protesters behind the demonstrations that drove former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir from power continue to negotiate, but so far they have failed to strike a deal. The generals and the protesters are divided on what role the military should have in the transition to civilian rule. The military forced al-Bashir from office last month and has since jailed him. But the demonstrators fear the generals intend to hold on to power or cut a deal with other factions that would leave much of al-Bashir's regime intact. Ugandan pop star and popular opposition lawmaker Bobi Wine is accusing the government of blocking his concerts and intimidating his business partners. Francesca Lina has the details.
Uganda's popular opposition figure and pop star Bobi Wine says the government is financially strangling him. In an interview with Reuters, the singer, whose birth name is Robert Chagulanyi, said his concerts were being blocked and his business partners intimidated.
Almost all my businesses have been closed. All people that I have contracts with have been ordered to disassociate themselves with me. All people in the entertainment industry have been ordered not to work with me. All the music sound service providers, stage service providers, all music promoters have been ordered not to work with me, and some have actually been paid in the tune of billions, not to work with me. So the regime has tried to attack me from multiple fronts.
The government did not immediately respond to these accusations, and Reuters cannot independently verify the claims. Wine is one of Uganda's top singers and has many fans across East Africa. But it's his growing popularity as a lawmaker that has rattled the government. Wine's already indicated his intention to contest the country's next presidential election in 2021, running against incumbent President Yoweri Museveni in power since 1986.
They are certainly seeking to strangle me financially, but I'm glad that by the time they were too late to do this, because one, already the fact is that I come from the ghetto. There was a time when I had nothing.
As a prominent critic of incumbent Museveni, Wine's been in hot water more than once. Just last month, he was detained and put under house arrest. And last year, he was badly beaten by security forces. But the artist-cum-politician says he plans to press on with anti-government protests and has had talks with 3 small opposition political parties who have agreed to field him as a joint candidate for the next election.
That was Francesca Lina of Reuters reporting. Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi has appointed Silvestre Ilunga Ilukamba, a career politician and ally of former President Joseph Kabila, as the nation's prime minister. Tshisekedi won the long-delayed presidential election last December. Tshisekedi has taken months to form a new government, in part because of disagreements over his appointment of a prime minister. Former President Joseph Kabila wanted Tshisekedi to appoint his ally Albert Yuma, chairman of State Mining Company, but according to sources familiar with the matter, Tshisekedi refused to appoint Yuma because of his checkered history. For more insight on the appointment of the new Prime Minister, journalist Anastasie Tudieshe joins me from Kinshasa. Good evening, Anastasie.
Good evening, Esther.
Now,
good evening to all.
Anastasie, what do we know about this new Prime Minister?
Esther, if I should gather 3 elements our audience needs to know about Mr. Ilukamba, it would be first that he's an economist. He's even said to have been a brilliant teacher at Kinshasa University. He holds a doctorate in applied economics, and before his appointment, he was the head of the National Railway Company. Secondly, his politics and administration are in his DNA. He was part of a group of 10 students chosen by the late President Mobutu at the end of the 60s to be trained in public affairs management. He went to study on the Rockefeller Scholarship. He has already served twice as a minister. Third point, he's so discreet that he's relatively unknown to the Congolese population and even to the members of his own party, the party of former President Joseph Kabila, to whom he said to be very faithful and loyal.
So, Anastasie, he has already addressed the media. What did he outline in his speech?
I attended the moment he addressed the media, and Mr. Ilukamba has committed himself to, and I quote, social, education, health, end of quote. The Prime Minister adding that the priority in a post-conflict country like DRC is security and peace building. Another commitment from him is to make the political coalition work harmoniously.
Now, in other news, Anastasie, from Congo, political opposition, politician Moise Katumbi returned home yesterday. And after 3 years in exile, is this a sign of the political landscape changing in DRC?
It is changing. Mr. Katumbi was welcomed by thousands of people, but none of the caciques of the Lamuka platform he coordinates for a few months more, none has showed up. His return obviously marks the beginning of a very interesting political sequence that will only end with the 2023 presidential elections. But for now, Mr. Katumbi positions himself as the head of the Republican opposition, and he has announced that he's getting ready for a tour within the country.
Anastasie, thank you so much. Excellent reporting there. Journalist Anastasie Tudieshe reporting from Kinshasa. Now, a panel of World Health Organization experts say strategies must be strengthened to fight the deepening Ebola crisis in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. According to WHO's latest report, there are over 1,700 cases of Ebola in Congo, including over 1,200 deaths. The nation's Minister of Health, Ole Lungo, says prevention measures, surveillance and tracing of the infected people and timely treatment and as safe burial practices must be maintained at all times. Lungo proposes setting up a data-driven system which compiles all the information produced in the response efforts. Zimbabweans are turning to solar energy for survival after the government began to cut the power supply for long periods of time amid severe fuel and electricity shortages. As Columbus Mavunga reports from Harare, the country's new energy minister is asking Zimbabweans to offer the government long-term solutions to solve the country's chronic energy problems.
The Zimbabwe government recently announced long power cuts due to low levels of water in Kariba Dam on the border with Zambia, the country's main hydropower source. This 33-year-old runs a small barber shop in a middle-class suburb in Harare. Last week, he bought a solar power system for about $250.
Solar system markets.
What made me buy this solar power system are power cuts. We can go for 8 hours without power or even the whole day without power. 8 hours is a whole production day, yet I depend on power to get money for food and rent. So if you miss a whole day of production, it means all that money is gone.
He says his previous backup is no longer an option.
We used to rely on a generator during power cuts, but now with fuel shortages, it means more hours looking for it and less production. So we substituted it with a solar system.
The cleaner energy isn't within reach for many Zimbabweans. Still, solar power companies say business is up and many customers are seeing the benefits of using the new power source.
It's actually cheaper than grid power.
What are people mainly interested in?
People are mostly interested in inverters, backup inverters, even solar water heaters. I think it's an advantage to them, and people are actually realizing that it actually benefits them more.
Last week, President Emmerson Mnangagwa demoted the country's energy minister due to fuel shortages and power cuts. Monday, officials said Harare is asking the public for possible long-term solutions. One private company is working to build a solar power plant to help feed into the national grid. Central Grid is located about 50 kilometers northwest of Harare. It has installed about 7,000 solar panels and is working to build a 25-megawatt solar power plant. It invested $5 million and needs $25 million more, but the company says a problem accessing foreign currency is slowing down development.
As you can see, almost 80 to 90% of all the components that go into this power plant are imported. So it is an issue of access to foreign currency. But once you have that access to foreign currency, solar is quick to install, solar is easy to install, solar is easy to maintain. So it is really something that is needed for the country, but it's the issue of the foreign currency, access to foreign currency, that is very important for the development of these power plants.
For now, most Zimbabweans continue to endure long periods without power, a chronic problem analysts say is costing millions each day in lost productivity. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare.
Authorities in New Zealand are filing terrorism charges against the self-avowed white supremacist who killed 51 worshippers at 2 Christchurch mosques back in March. The single charge filed Tuesday against Australian Brenton Tarrant is first of its kind under New Zealand's Terrorism Suppression Act. Prosecutors are also charging him with an additional count of murder over a worshipper who died in the hospital earlier this month, along with 2 additional counts of attempted murder, bringing the total charges of the dead to 40. Authorities have not said whether Tarrant has complied with psychiatric tests to determine if he is mentally fit to stand trial for March 15th attacks at the Al Noor and Linwood mosques. His next court date is June 14th. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, addressing the challenges of menstrual hygiene on the continent. We'll be right back.
Aisha Kasali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
Fair. Animal is envisioned for use in offshore power plants, sewage systems, or windmills to eliminate human risk. The robot can carry up to 10 kilograms and can be sent on a mission on its own. The researchers are exploring ways of how the robot can be used in search and rescue missions in disasters, such as earthquakes and typhoons, and provide support for first responders in hard-to-reach sites. It can provide live audio and a video feed, as well as a 3D map to assess risks in a potentially harmful environment. Also at Vivitech, football is literally a mental game in its latest variation developed by French startup Mentalista. The app challenges players to move a plastic ball towards a goal using only mind power. 2 players are equipped with electrode sensors, one behind the head and 2 on the ears, that then transmits signals to a computer, which relays them to the ball. The company aims to commercialize the product and distribute it by 2021. And finally, luxury brand Louis Vuitton also wants to be seen as a technology leader. At Vivitech, the company presented a standout bag that appeared to have small television screens in them. In fact, they were prototypes for a handbag smartphone combination called the Connected. When the bag is released, users will be able to connect via Wi-Fi and display content from a dedicated Louis Vuitton platform. The bag made its debut on the runway as part of the Louis Vuitton 2020 cruise collection. And that's what's trending today.
The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has instructed former White House counsel Don McGahn to defy a subpoena to testify before the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. Lawmakers want to question McGahn, a key figure in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation on Russia's interference with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Here's VOA's Ladza Hoke with the details.
McGahn's testimony is of interest to Democrats in Congress because of the role he played in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into whether Trump obstructed justice. McGahn was cited more than 150 times in Mueller's report. One of the key episodes recounts that Trump asked McGahn repeatedly in 2017 to fire Mueller and that McGahn refused to do so. Trump has denied it.
I never told Don McGahn to fire Mueller. If I wanted to fire Mueller, I would have done it myself. It's very simple. I had the right to.
The U.S. Justice Department issued a legal opinion Monday saying Congress may not constitutionally compel the president's senior advisors to testify about their official duties. McGahn's refusal to testify escalates the tensions between the executive and legislative branches of the U.S. government and may end up in court, says political analyst Shannon Bow O'Brien.
And I think he's betting on the fact the Supreme Court and the federal courts, partially because of the people he's appointed in the courts, are going to back him up. I do think that's a dangerous game to play, though, because the judiciary is also not going to want to see erosion of their power. Even if they see congressional power getting eroded, the judiciary may stand firm. And I really think that's the game that's going on, is I think executives really trying to erode power out of Congress.
Legislative, executive, and judicial branches are separate but equal parts of the U.S. government. Allowing one to prevail would compromise the system known as checks and balances.
One of the things I think a lot of people forget is there are 3 co-equal branches. None of them are little brothers or little sisters to the other. They're all co-equals. And I think Trump is attempting at times to set the executive higher than congressional, which is organization it shouldn't be, and pull judicial under the wing as well to get them to do what they want, almost like a younger sibling. And I do think it's dangerous.
The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, a Democrat from New York, has threatened to hold McGahn in contempt of Congress if he does not testify. The committee has already voted to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress for his refusal to provide members with a full, unredacted version of Mueller's report. Democrats have said they're looking into imposing fines on the federal officials who refuse to comply with congressional subpoenas. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
It's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lenore Mudu with an update on the universal health care coverage. Hello, Lenore.
That's right, Esther. The 72nd World Health Assembly is underway in Geneva, Switzerland, with the theme of universal health coverage, leaving no one behind. Held annually in Geneva, the World Health Assembly is the decision-making body of the World Health Organization. It's attended by delegations from all of WHO member states and focuses on a specific health agenda prepared by the Executive Board. Speaking at Monday's opening of the World Health Assembly was a WHO Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. He said that primary health care is where the battle for human health is won and lost.
Primary health care is at the heart of Immunization Agenda 2030, our new strategic initiative, which we're designing with you to maximize the power of vaccines. Because we cannot achieve health for all without vaccines for all.
Nearly 4,000 delegates from 194 member states are attending the conference, which ends on May 28th. Now, the United Nations Children's Fund says an estimated 1 in 10 girls in sub-Saharan Africa misses school at some point during their period because of the lack of access to menstrual health supplies. UNICEF says inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities pose a major obstacle to girls, and without access to proper education and resources, girls may miss anywhere from 10 to 20% of scheduled school days. At least 500 million women and girls worldwide lack adequate facilities for menstrual hygiene management. Joining me now is Jacinta Ntuyeko, founder and managing director of Kasole Secrets, a social enterprise that creates and distributes bamboo-made sanitary napkins across Tanzania. Jacinta, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Also joining me today is Carrie Rich. She is co-founder and CEO of the Global Good Fund, a non-profit organization that supports social entrepreneurs in more than 25 countries worldwide. Ms. Rich, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Jacinta, let me start with you. You started your business, your enterprise, after a personal experience having to deal with menstruation and not finding adequate resources. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I decided to dedicate my life as an entrepreneur because of my personal challenges during menstruation. And when I joined university, pursuing with my Bachelor of Engineering in Telecommunication, my challenges doubled. So after my university, I decided to be part of solution by starting hand-selling parts, an experience which really opened up my eyes.
So when you talk about challenges, can you tell us maybe one specifically?
Yeah, for me, I was really struggling with the menstrual cramps. But when I went to the university, I started getting struggle with the quality of sanitary pads, and sometimes have to go very far for the site visit. But when I was starting selling pads, I realized women have so many challenges, like social stigma, access to water, poor infrastructures, and education itself as a menstrual hygiene management education. And this is something which will really make me feel like I really need to do something to improve the menstrual experience for women and girls.
It's interesting that you chose that field. And Carrie, let me come to you. When you look at an enterprise like Jacinta's enterprise, the Global Good Fund supports social entrepreneurs. Why is such an enterprise important to support?
There are complex social challenges of our time that can be addressed through entrepreneurship, through business. And Jacinta is creating a social solution to a pressing problem through business. Those are exactly the high potential young leaders we're seeking to support.
And Jacinta, how is your product unique and how does it help women?
Yeah, so the Glory Pads is bamboo made, and bamboo by nature is antibacterial, antiviral, and antimicrobial. So we decided to take advantage of these features to develop sanitary pads. But also we carbonate the bamboo so that we increase the absorption power of the pads and increase the health benefits. So women who really struggle with the cramps or women who are having irregular menses, we are advising them to use Glory Pads for 3 cycles continuous before they report on their progress. So this is how it looks like, and this is the charcoal, and we don't put any chemicals.
Okay, so it's recyclable. And Carrie, how are fellows selected in the program? I mean, you came across Jacinta. What is the process?
So Jacinta was one of 2,000 applicants who applied to be a Global Good Fund Fellow. We actually have open application right now at globalgoodfund.org. Anyone, anywhere in the world can apply to be a Global Good Fund Fellow, and we select from 2,000 to weed out the best social entrepreneurs who are creating a ripple effect of change across the world.
So, Jacinta, what is your message around menstruation?
I strongly believe in inclusion and education as the most powerful tool for bringing change when we educate about menstruation. But also, men and boys should not be left behind, because that's the way we can be able to break the silence. We all need to know about menstruation because we are the product of menstruation.
And quickly, Carrie, what is expected of fellows and how do you measure impact?
Our goal is for Jacinta and all the other Global Good Fund Fellows to create a ripple effect of social change. We measure leadership development, enterprise growth, and social impact quarter over quarter and year after year. And so far, the Global Good Fund Fellows have impacted 8.5 million lives to date globally.
And Jacinta, the last word to you. How are girls benefiting from this? How expensive is it or cheap?
Yeah, so what we are trying to do is to make sure that we lower down the price, because now the government has reduced the value-added tax and we are actually lowered the price. But we also run a massively number of menstrual education in my country with the community, boys and girls, to make sure that girls, they have access to sanitary pads, even if they can't afford.
Okay, and involving boys is so important.
We do. That is our primal goal.
Thank you so much, Jacinta and Carrie. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
And that was Jacinta Ntuyeko. She's founder and managing director of Kasole Secrets. And Carrie Rich, she's co-founder and CEO of the Global Good Fund. That's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @LenorMoudou. Esther, back to you.
Thank you so much, Lino, and thank you everybody for watching us. Good night from Washington.
Thank you.